Hello, 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 everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time visiting, welcome. I'm glad the algorithm gods brought you right here. It's been a minute since I've been here. I know. I don't know about you, but for me, life has definitely been lifing, so I have been a little out of action, getting some things done, all that good stuff, but I'm back. For those of you that have visited my channel in the past, you may notice something a little different about my appearance. The locks are gone. I just kept having this overwhelming desire to comb them out, and I thought that the feeling would pass, it would come and go, but it just seemed to keep coming back, and every time it would come back, it would just be a stronger pull for me to comb them out. And so that's what I did. I cut off all of the bleached ends, and then the 7 or 8 inches that was left, I went ahead and combed them out. It was not nearly as difficult as I thought that it would be, and here we are. I still have the locks, so if at any point in time I do decide to reinstall them, I will probably just reuse my own locks, because why not? But for now, I am truly enjoying getting acclimated with my own loose natural hair, because I had my hair locked for going on 8 years. So, this is just a new season in my life, and at the end of the day, it's just hair. But anywho, I didn't come on here to talk to you about my hair chronicles. I came here to share some exciting news with you guys. So I'm pretty sure that I have not mentioned this previously, but I am a writer. Yes, I am a writer. I love to write. So far, I have written 3 books. My first book that I wrote is called Parallel Lives. It's over here in my library, somewhere over here. I think I'm blocking it. After that, I wrote a 2-book series. The first book is called The Ex-Friend, and the second book is called The Ex-Boyfriend. And I am currently working on my 4th novel, which is called Blood of My Blood. I'm also working on a TV pilot as well called The UN. So yeah, I'm trying to stay busy. I'm trying to be more consistent with my writing. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here because I would like to start a mini series, if you will, sharing excerpts from my 2-book series, the Friend series. So I will be sharing excerpts from the first book in the series, which is called The Ex-Friend. This book is available on Kindle in both ebook and paperback formats. I will have the Kindle link below. If anyone is interested in, supporting a sister, checking the book out, making a purchase, I would appreciate it. But in the meantime, I will be doing excerpts from the book. This came about because I just felt like I wasn't really doing enough to promote my work. I am a writer, and I feel like I need to really build up my confidence. Like, I need to own that. Like, I'm a writer. I write. And I feel like for the longest time, I kind of hid from that. It's almost as if I didn't feel like a real writer, because I'm not what people would say is an accomplished writer. I haven't been picked up by a major publishing house. And in my head, I used to think that that is what truly made me a writer, what truly makes someone a writer. But no, you're a writer if you can pick up a pen or pencil and you have stories in your mind and you write it down. You create stories from your imagination. You put words together. And that makes you a writer. So I truly want to own and embrace that part of who I am. And I want to build up my self-confidence. And I used to always wonder how authors would go on these book tours, and they would, go to like libraries and bookstores and things like that and read excerpts from their books. And I used to always be so fascinated by that. Like, wow, how do they have the confidence to read from a work that they created and read to like a bunch of people that they don't know, a bunch of strangers, right? Because writing also is a very subjective and a very personal thing. And not everyone is going to enjoy your creativity, right? And I think when you're a writer, you kind of have to have a thick skin, because A lot of people won't get it, they won't enjoy it, they won't like it, but then on the flip side, a lot of people will. But anyway, I was thinking, like, how do they do that? Like, how do they read from their work to a room full of strangers, right? Like, wow, I don't know if I could do that. So this was kind of like a challenge. I said, you know what? I have a YouTube channel. Why not start there? So here we are. So I will be reading part of chapter 1, and then I'll come back, maybe every week or maybe twice a week. I don't know. Depends on how I feel. And I will continue to read excerpts from the book. And I would really appreciate if you happen to be here right now, if you can like the video, if you can share it. If you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And most importantly, I would truly, truly appreciate your feedback, your commentary. Please leave comments, good or bad, as long as they're honest. I will truly appreciate that because it will help to strengthen me as a writer. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on what you've heard so far as I start this series of reading excerpts from my novel, the first book in my 2-book series, The Ex-Friends. So first I'm going to start off by reading the back of the book, which gives, a brief overview of the plot, if you will, what the story is basically about, introducing the main characters, etc. And then we will get started on the first chapter. And again, I'm really, really, really nervous because I've never done anything like this before, so please bear with me. Okay. 33-year-old Dina Jones is a petite chocolate brown beauty. Despite being bullied as a child with little affection from her immediate family and an absentee father, Dina has managed to carve out a decent life for herself as a copy editor for a popular urban magazine. Lately, however, Dina is restless and unsatisfied with her career. Her goal of becoming a successful writer has been out on the back burner indefinitely, fueled by self-doubt. Not to mention, Dina has been having nightmares, unresolved guilt from 20 plus years ago, precipitated by the abrupt and cruel way she ended her relationship with her best friend at the time, Kendra Franklin. Desperate for forgiveness and closure, Dina finally tracks down her long-lost friend via social media. Dina is certain that in no time they will be as close as they once were. But as her mother Tanya warns her, people tend to hold grudges when they feel like they've been slighted or done wrong, especially women. Dina will soon learn for herself that her mother's cryptic adage may hold true. Kendra Franklin is a woman in the prime of her life. At 5'8", with hip-length sandy brown locks, an enviable figure, and amber eyes, she is stunningly beautiful. Kendra has a career most people will kill for, has traveled around the world, and can have any man that she wants, and she knows it. However, Kendra has a nasty little secret she has been harboring for over 20 years. A harrowing trauma has marred her seemingly perfect appearance in life, causing painful flashbacks and anxiety attacks. Kendra blames her former best friend Dina for what has happened to her. When both women reconnect 20 years later, a Pandora's box closed and buried deep within Kendra's heart opens back up, and Dina unwittingly becomes the target of Kendra's long-simmering rage. Can both women reconcile what happened in the past and truly forgive themselves and one another? Or will the scars of betrayal and guilt prove to be too deep for either woman to truly move on? And so, with that, let's start with an excerpt from the book, The Ex-Friend, Chapter 1. The sun was high and bright, the sky a perfect shade of blue for as far as the naked eye could see, with not one cloud. No matter how many times Dina had this dream, she always marveled at the perfection of this summer day. Suddenly, Kendra materialized seemingly out of nowhere. The sun moved at warp speed. It dipped low into the horizon, immediately turning the day into dusk, casting eerie shadows up and down the street. Just like all the other times, Dina marveled at this as well. As tears streamed down Kendra's face, Dina felt the familiar pangs of guilt and sorrow. She knew she had to make things right before it was too late. Kendra, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it, Dina pleaded with her. There was no response from Kendra. There never was. Instead, her amber eyes bored into Dina's, silently condemning her. She had to make Kendra understand this time. There may not be another time. Please, say something, Kendra. Talk to me. Dina took one step closer and reached out to her old friend. She wanted to touch her so badly. Kendra opened her mouth wide. Dina stared, unable to look away, even though she knew what would happen next. Kendra's mouth continued to stretch open wider and wider, obscuring her face from view until only a gaping black hole was visible. Kendra, Dina whispered, dread quailing in the pit of her stomach. Kendra emitted a blood-curdling scream. Repeatedly, she screamed and screamed and screamed until she sounded like an alarm. Dina stuck one arm out from under her comforter and shut off the loud and insistent chime coming from her cell phone before dragging herself out of bed and trudging to the bathroom. A medium brown, oval-shaped face with large, expressive eyes, a small, slightly upturned nose, and full lips greeted her as she stared in the mirror, willing herself fully awake. She always had the nightmare right before her alarm went off, leaving her feeling as if she barely got any sleep. Still, she was grateful for not having a dream at 3 or 4 in the morning, especially if her boyfriend Jamari wasn't staying over. She'd be so wired and paranoid, it would be impossible for her to fall back asleep, leaving her even more sleep deprived. The red dot of light on her electric toothbrush blinked angrily at her. It needed to be charged. Dina smeared on some toothpaste and used it like a manual toothbrush. Still gets the job done. She rinsed out her mouth and tossed handfuls of tepid water onto her face before stumbling back into her bedroom and reaching for her running clothes laid out at the foot of the bed. She was not a morning person. However, Dina knew if she did not get her cardio in at this time of the day, it would never get done. Her days were too busy to do it any other time. After work, she typically got back to her co-op around 6 or 7 p.m. She then showered, had dinner, and watched a couple of her favorite ratchet television shows. When she finally headed to bed around 10 p.m., she'd call Jamari while snuggled under her comforter, giving him a 10 to 15-minute recap of her day. Sometimes Dina was so tired she would fall asleep mid-conversation. Not even 10 minutes into her jog, Dina already felt beads of sweat dripping down her chin and into her sports bra. It was unusually humid that July morning, even though the sun had risen not even 20 minutes before. 10 more minutes, she told herself, just 10 more. Dina hated jogging, but she kept at it because it worked. It was as simple as that. She was petite and curvy, sometimes a bit too curvy for her liking, and if she wasn't careful, she could easily gain a few pounds without even trying. If jogging kept her at a solid size 8, she would continue doing it. Her mind drifted back to the recurring nightmare she'd had and the leading actress, Kendra Franklin. If it were not for Kendra coming into her life back in junior high school, Dina had no idea how she would have been able to get through that period of her life. 1986. She was in her usual spot during lunch, the last row of tables at the very back of the cafeteria with her left side pressed against the wall. Dina willed her body to merge into the wall itself, to literally become one of the bricks painted that horrible shade of yellow that you would only find in a place like the school cafeteria or prison. That way, she'd be invisible. Her mother had cornrowed her shoulder-length hair, in some intricate style and added multicolored beads at the end of each braid. Every move she made, no matter how slight, the beads would make a clacking noise that infuriated her because it brought unwanted attention. Mercifully, her classmates found nothing wrong with her hair. However, her usual hand-me-down attire that her mom got every month from the Salvation Army was more than enough material for them to work with. Dina did not socialize with anyone. Actually, no one socialized with her. Her older brother had gone to the same school, but he graduated the year before and was now attending Richmond High School. Not that it would have mattered. Justin treated Dina like the plague. At home and in public, he barely acknowledged her at all. Today's lunch consisted of a hamburger wrapped in microwave-safe aluminum foil and a scoop full of tater tots. This was one of the better school-issued meals. A pint of lukewarm chocolate milk accompanied the standard school-issued meal. Lunch was a hamburger. This was one of the better school-issued meals. At IS 195, located in Central Harlem, West 131st Street, in Old Broadway to be exact, students were allowed to leave the school grounds for lunch. Every day, all the 7th and 8th graders would pile out of the school doors that led everyone out into the yard, which was basically just one huge fenced-in concrete square. There would be a mad dash for the open gate, where Nirvana for middle school-aged students awaited them right up the street on Broadway. The main drag was lined with bodegas that sold spiced ham and cheese heroes with garlic and onion potato chips and a pickle for $2.50. Slices with extra cheese at the pizzeria next door for 75 cents, and Chinese restaurants that sold chopped spare ribs with extra barbecue sauce and french fries with extra hot sauce for $3. Of course, access to this world was only attainable if one had lunch money, which Dina usually did not have. That regulated her to the school cafeteria, where the dreaded school lunch awaited you. Still, even this was better than bringing lunch from home. Bringing lunch from home was the proverbial last nail in the coffin. You could never come back from that. The need to satisfy her hunger was not the only reason Dina regulated herself to the cafeteria. Her attire left little to be desired. Wrinkled, hand-me-down clothing that was usually too small at the top and too big at the bottom, paired with stiff, cumbersome penny loafers that her grandmother had purchased from Alexander's in the Bronx, pretty much guaranteed relentless teasing. The cafeteria was also Dina's oasis after the god-awful awkwardness of class, since most of the students responsible for her daily torture had lunch money. It would not be caught dead in there, even if there was a blizzard outside. That pretty much left mostly harmless 6th graders and other 7th and 8th graders that were outcasts like her. Dina had just cracked open the 3rd book from her used Laura Ingalls Wilder set. The book was dog-eared with yellow pages. It was one of her most, if only, coveted and prized possessions, and she'd lost count of the many times she had read the entire series. Reading, coupled with her larger-than-life imagination, swept her away from her day-to-day reality. She leaned into the false safety of the wall and hunched her shoulders over the book as she immersed herself into the world of 19th century pioneer life. Dina never heard Kendra walk up to her, and before she could even register what was happening, Kendra was already busying herself with sitting in the empty space next to her on the narrow bench-style seating. Dina stared up at her, dumbfounded, as she casually dropped 2 plastic bags on the table. Kendra's wavy, sandy brown hair was pulled back into a ponytail and held in place by a tortoise-shell barrette. She wore a pair of high-waisted Sergio Valente jeans, paired with a sleeveless mint green muscle t-shirt. Kendra would later tell Dina that she and her mom shopped at thrift shops on the Lower East Side. Dina had never heard of that type of clothing store. Kendra would go on to explain that it was the type of store that sold gently used clothes from rich white women who had more clothes than they knew what to do with. If Kendra had worn that same outfit, if Dina, had worn that same outfit, she would have looked like a stuffed sausage. But on Kendra's slender frame, Dina thought she looked even prettier than Janet Jackson. Her complexion reminded Dina of a piece of butterscotch candy, and her amber-colored eyes flecked with hazel were mesmerizing. Dina suddenly hated her own milk chocolate-colored skin and made up her mind then and there that Kendra was the most beautiful girl she had ever seen in real life. "This is for you. I hope you like spiced ham and cheese," Kendra said as she pushed one of the bags in Dina's direction and removed her hero from the other. Dina had eaten about half of her cafeteria hamburger earlier. However, that struggle meal was all but forgotten as she inhaled the oil and vinegar coming from the brown bag of deliciousness. She paused for all of 1.5 seconds before reaching for the bag as she placed her book down on the table. "Thank you," she mumbled. "No biggie," Kendra replied as she shrugged her shoulders in indifference, reaching inside of the other bag for her sandwich. And just like that, they became fast friends. And from that moment on, it was as if they had known each other for all of their 12 plus years of existence. They were in different sub-schools. Kendra was in drama, where half of the popular students ended up. The other half was in the dance sub-school. Dina was in business. The highlight of her sub-school was learning how to type on the brand new electric typewriters the school constantly reminded the students they received only because of some federally funded grant for underprivileged students. Thankfully, they did have the same lunch hour, and every day from that day forward, both girls would meet for lunch in the cafeteria. Dina's beloved Laura Ingalls novel were now saved for her evening hours at home before bed. Lunch from home or the cafeteria became a thing of the past, thanks to Kendra. Lunch now consisted of a spiced ham and cheese with oil and vinegar, a bag of Funyuns, Dina's favorite, and a pickle, which she did not particularly care for, but she ate the entire thing nonetheless, not wanting to seem ungrateful. Sometimes Kendra would switch it up and they would have Chinese food instead. Wings fried extra hard and crispy fries with extra hot sauce and ketchup. She would silently wonder where Kendra got the money from, but was too afraid to ask. One day, as they sat at their designated bench in the back of the park near the schoolyard, Dina finally built up the courage to do just that. "Where do you get all of this money from to buy lunch for both of us every day?" she asked her, in between taking a huge bite from her pickle. "I get a weekly allowance, silly," Kendra responded. "Oh," Dina simply said. Of course Dina had heard of an allowance, but she had never received one. Dina's mom had just gotten a job as an LPN after finishing nursing school, which was a huge deal in their household, considering that she was on public assistance for as long as Dina could remember. "Robbing Peter to pay Paul," one of her mother's many sayings. Since her mother started working, things did improve slightly, but not that much. At night, when she should have been well into her second dream, Dina would tiptoe down the long hallway of their railroad-style apartment from her bedroom to the living room, where she'd eavesdrop on conversations her mom would have with her gay best friend, Sanford. Sanford always seemed to wear the same outfit: denim bell-bottom jumpers paired with a black leather vest. Stevie Wonder's Hotter Than July, her mother's favorite album at the time, would usually be playing in the background on the record player. "You know that tired-ass Negro Stanley hasn't sent me a dime for them kids since I got this job. Hell, he was hardly sending me anything before then. I ain't making more than I did when I was on welfare, and those two kids are growing like damn weeds. Seems like Justin grew 5 inches overnight." "Child, you ain't never lie. That boy need to be playing basketball or something," Sanford interjected. Tanya shot a quick side eye at Sanford. She loved Sanford like a brother, and she knew he usually liked them sugar daddy old, but still. "Girl," Sanford purred at Tanya, noting the look she gave him, "don't even try it. I ain't studying that baby. First of all, you know I love him like a nephew, and besides, all that boy is sniffing after is some fish." "Tanya offered. "Anyway, as for Dina, You know she takes after the women on her father's side of the family. They got hips, titties, and booty for days. I can't get nothing for her from Lazarus anymore. Those days are long gone, Tanya quipped before taking a long drag from her cigarette. Must be something in the water, 'cause these little girls be built like grown-ass women, Sanford groused before taking a swig from a jelly jar that Dina knew contained ice-cold Pepsi laced with some Thunderbird. Thank goodness Dina ain't no Amazon, though. She just got a lot of baby fat. It'll melt off her as she gets older, though, Sanford offered. If you say so, Tanya responded unconvincingly. Kendra never did ask Dina whether she received an allowance as well. Maybe she had figured out she did not and chose not to ask so as not to embarrass her. After that very brief conversation on the subject, it was never brought up again, and Dina gracefully continued to accept her generosity. Never once did Kendra make her feel like a charity case. She was her first real friend, her best friend, the sister she never had, and every night before Dina fell asleep, she thanked God for sending Kendra into her life. And so that is an excerpt from chapter 1 of my novel from my 2-book series. The novel is called The Ex-Friend, and again, it is available on Kindle in ebook and paperback format. Again, I will have the link listed below, and I will be back to read yet another excerpt from my novel, and I hope you will join me. I was super nervous, and hopefully this will get easier the more that I do it. But for those of you who have stumbled across my channel or who have been here before and you're here today, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will return for my second reading.